Have you ever wondered why you can walk every single day and still feel your legs getting weaker instead of stronger? That question hit me hard after I turned 60. I was doing what everyone told me. I noticed it first when standing up from a chair took a split second longer, then when curbs felt higher than they used to, then when I hesitated before stepping off a sidewalk. Nothing dramatic, no pain, just a subtle loss of firmness and stability that I couldn't explain. And that's the dangerous part after 60. Decline rarely announces itself. It whispers. I kept walking, convinced consistency would fix it. But walking wasn't challenging the muscles that keep you upright. It wasn't waking up circulation deep in the legs. It wasn't training balance or control. It was familiar, comfortable, and increasingly ineffective. What scared me wasn't fatigue. It was the realization that if I ignored this, one small slip could change everything. That's when I started paying attention to my body instead of habits. I realized firmness isn't about how far you walk. Stability isn't about steps. It's about how your legs respond when your weight shifts, when you stop suddenly, when you rise, turn, or steady yourself. Those are the moments that matter after 60, and walking barely touches them. I remember standing in my kitchen one morning, holding the counter, thinking about how many people my age believe they're doing everything right while slowly losing control of their legs. That was the moment I decided to try something different. Not harder, not younger, just smarter. An exercise so simple I almost dismissed it. No machines, no floor work, no strain, but it targeted exactly what walking ignored. Within days, my legs felt different. Not stronger in a gym sense, more awake, more responsive, less shaky. And that's when I understood something important. Stability comes before strength. Control comes before confidence. And once you restore those, firmness follows naturally. Before we go any further, let me ask you something important. If any part of this sounds familiar, if you felt your legs getting less stable even though you're still active, this video is for you. And the next part is where things start to change. Take a second to really engage with this. Understanding what's happening in your body after 60 is the first step to keeping control of it. That's why I want you to do 3 simple things right now. Leave a comment and tell me your age and what you've noticed most in your legs lately. It helps this community feel less alone, and I personally read those comments. Tap the like button if this conversation already makes sense to you, because it tells the algorithm this message matters, and if staying independent, steady, and confident in your own body matters to you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. We're just getting started. The next part explains the first warning sign most people ignore until it's too late, and once you recognize it, you'll never look at your legs the same way again. The strange thing was that my motivation never disappeared. My mind felt alert, willing, ready to move, but my legs started sending a different message. I would be halfway through a simple task and feel a dull heaviness creeping in. Not pain, not weakness in the dramatic sense, just a quiet fatigue that made me slow down without realizing it. That's the warning sign most people over 60 miss, because it doesn't feel serious. It feels normal. I remember standing in line at the grocery store, shifting my weight from one foot to the other, feeling restless in my own legs. Sitting down felt like relief. Standing still felt harder than walking. That confused me. Walking was supposed to be the hard part, but this is what poor circulation and declining stability actually feel like at the beginning. Your legs don't fail during movement. They fail when control is required. At home, I noticed it when cooking. I leaned on the counter more often. When brushing my teeth, I changed my stance without thinking. When turning quickly, I paused first. These small adjustments were my body compensating. And compensation is the body's way of buying time before a bigger loss shows up. The problem is that most of us interpret these signs as aging instead of feedback. What was happening wasn't about endurance. My legs weren't getting tired because they worked too hard. They were getting tired because they weren't being properly activated. The muscles responsible for stabilizing, supporting, and managing blood flow weren't being asked to do their job. Walking forward in a straight line doesn't demand much control. It doesn't challenge balance. It doesn't force circulation to adapt, so those systems quietly weaken. I also noticed my legs felt heavier in the evening than in the morning. Shoes felt tighter. Standing up felt slower. That's when it clicked for me. This wasn't about strength. It was about flow and response. When circulation slows and stabilizer muscles stop firing correctly, your legs feel disconnected from your intention. Your mind says move, but your body hesitates. That hesitation is dangerous after 60 because it shows up at the worst moments. Stepping off a curb, turning quickly, getting up at night. Those are not walking moments. Those are control moments. And if you don't train control, your body will eventually avoid it. Once I understood that, I stopped asking how far I could walk and started asking a better question. What makes my legs respond again? What tells them to stay firm, stable, and awake instead of just moving forward out of habit? That question led me to something I almost laughed at when I first saw it. When I first came across this exercise, I remember thinking, this can't be it. It looked almost too basic. No sweat, no equipment, no dramatic movement. In my mind, real results had to come from effort, from walking longer, pushing harder, doing more. That belief alone kept me stuck longer than I like to admit. What stopped me from skipping it was one simple thought. What if the problem wasn't effort, but direction? After 60, the body doesn't need more strain. It needs better signals. This exercise wasn't about burning calories or building visible muscle. It was about waking up the systems that walking never touches. The first time I tried it, I felt almost nothing. And that's exactly why it works. There was no shock to the joints, no stress on the knees, just a controlled movement that forced my legs to stabilize instead of coast. Within seconds, I felt warmth spreading downward, not the tired burn of walking, but a steady, alive sensation deep in the legs. Here's what surprised me most. My feet felt more connected to the ground. My ankles stopped wobbling. My thighs didn't tighten, they responded. That's when I understood something crucial. Firmness after 60 doesn't come from tension. It comes from activation. When stabilizing muscles turn back on, everything above them improves automatically. I started doing this exercise near the kitchen counter, more for confidence than support. I focused on slow movement, steady breathing, and control instead of speed. And something unexpected happened. My balance improved before my strength did. Standing still felt easier. Turning felt smoother. Even walking felt different, lighter, more intentional. What this exercise does is force your legs to manage your body weight instead of letting momentum do the work. Walking lets you fall forward and catch yourself repeatedly. This movement makes your legs hold you, guide you, and adjust constantly. That's the missing piece for people over 60 who feel unstable despite being active. I also noticed something emotional shift. I stopped rushing. I stopped fearing sudden movements. My body felt present again, not delayed. And once that connection comes back, everything else builds on top of it naturally. But the real change didn't happen until I understood when and how to use this exercise, so it actually stuck. What I didn't expect was how quickly my circulation began to feel different once this exercise became part of my day. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, undeniable one. My legs no longer felt cold or heavy when I stood still. There was a sense of internal movement, like blood was finally reaching places that walking never quite touched. Before this, my circulation followed a predictable pattern. Mornings were tolerable. Evenings were heavy. By the end of the day, my legs felt slower, thicker, less responsive. Sitting down felt necessary, not optional. Assumed that was just what happens after 60. But what was actually happening was stagnation. Walking moved me forward, but it didn't force blood to circulate upward or sideways. It didn't challenge the deep systems that keep legs feeling alive. This exercise changed that because it demanded control instead of momentum. Each slow movement forced blood to move against gravity. Each pause required my muscles to engage and release in a way that created a natural pumping effect. Within the first week, I noticed my legs felt warmer in the afternoon instead of heavier. That alone told me something fundamental was shifting. Another thing surprised me. Swelling became less noticeable. Not gone, but reduced. Shoes felt more comfortable by evening. Standing at the sink no longer felt like a test of endurance. These weren't medical changes. They were functional changes. My legs simply worked better. What really caught my attention was how fast the response came. I didn't need months. I didn't need intensity. I needed consistency. 5 to 10 minutes was enough to remind my body how circulation is supposed to behave. When muscles contract and stabilize correctly, blood follows. Flow improves naturally when movement is purposeful. I also realized why walking had stopped helping. Walking is repetitive and linear. Circulation thrives on variation and control. This exercise created constant micro-adjustments, small shifts, subtle corrections. That's what forces circulation to adapt, instead of plateau. Emotionally, this brought relief. When your legs feel lighter and more responsive, confidence returns quietly. You stop worrying about standing too long. You stop scanning for the nearest chair. That mental shift matters more than most people realize after 60. And this improvement wasn't accidental. It was tied directly to how I practiced and when I practiced. One small adjustment made the difference between temporary improvement and lasting change. For a long time, I believed stability came from stronger legs, more muscle, more effort, more repetition. But what this exercise taught me is that stability after 60 has very little to do with how strong you are, and everything to do with how well you control your body. I noticed this the first time I stepped onto an uneven surface without thinking about it. No hesitation, no bracing. My body adjusted automatically. That's not strength. That's control. Control is what keeps you upright when something unexpected happens, and walking rarely trains that. This exercise forced my legs to communicate with my brain again. Every slow movement required awareness. Every pause demanded balance. My muscles weren't just working, they were listening. That connection is what most people lose as they age, not muscle size. I also realized why so many people fall even though they stay active. They move a lot, but they don't train response. They don't train stopping. They don't train shifting weight under control. Stability lives in those transitions. Rising, turning, pausing, reaching. That's where falls happen. As I kept practicing, my posture improved without effort. I stood taller. My steps felt quieter and more precise. When I turned my head while walking, my legs adjusted instead of freezing. That's confidence returning at the nervous system level, not the muscle level. Another unexpected change was how I felt getting up at night. That moment when balance is weakest. My legs no longer felt unsure. I didn't rush. I didn't cling to furniture. My body knew where it was in space. That awareness is priceless after 60. What people don't realize is that control protects strength. When you move with control, muscles stay active and responsive. When you rely on momentum, muscles slowly shut down. This exercise reversed that pattern for me. The fear of falling faded quietly. Not because I told myself to be brave, but because my body proved it could handle itself again. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It has to be rebuilt from the inside out. But control only sticks when it becomes part of a routine. One small habit turned these improvements from something I felt occasionally into something I could rely on. At first, the improvements felt encouraging but fragile. My legs felt more stable after doing the exercise, but I noticed that if I skipped a day or rushed through it, that firmness didn't fully carry over. That's when I understood something important. After 60, your body doesn't respond to intensity. It responds to rhythm. The real change happened when I stopped treating this exercise like a workout and started treating it like a daily signal. I chose the same time every day. Not when I felt motivated. Not when I had extra energy. I did it when my body needed it most. Early, before my legs stiffened, before circulation slowed, before the day pulled me into sitting. 5 minutes, sometimes 7, rarely more than 10. But I did it slowly, deliberately, without distractions. No phone, no rushing. I focused on control, on breathing, on feeling my feet connected to the floor. That consistency told my nervous system something powerful. This is normal again. This is how we move now. Within 2 weeks, firmness stopped being something I noticed only after exercising. It became my baseline. Standing felt solid. Getting out of a chair felt natural. Even after a long day, my legs didn't collapse into fatigue the way they used to. That's when I knew. This wasn't temporary improvement. It was adaptation. What surprised me most was how little effort it took once the habit was set. The body loves predictability, especially as we age. When you give it the same signal at the same time each day, it responds faster and holds on to the result longer. That's why random activity rarely works after 60. The body doesn't trust it. This habit also changed how I walked. My steps became quieter, more controlled, less dragging. I wasn't walking more, but I was walking better. And better movement always beats more movement. Emotionally, this brought a sense of relief I didn't expect. I stopped wondering if today would be a good leg day or a bad one. My legs simply showed up when I needed them. That reliability matters more than strength after 60. But the biggest change wasn't physical. It was how I started to see aging itself. What I believed was inevitable decline turned out to be negotiable, and that realization shifted everything. What surprised me most wasn't just how my legs felt. It was how my mindset shifted once I realized I wasn't on a one-way path toward decline. For a long time, I had quietly accepted the idea that aging meant adapting to loss, moving slower, being more careful, avoiding certain situations, lowering expectations. I didn't say it out loud, but my body felt it every day. As my legs became firmer and more stable, that internal narrative started to crack. I stopped planning my movements around fear. I didn't scan rooms for chairs anymore. I didn't hesitate before stairs. Those small mental calculations disappear only when your body proves it can handle itself again. And that proof doesn't come from motivation. It comes from function. I realized that most of the fear around aging isn't about pain. It's about unpredictability, not trusting your body to respond when you need it. This exercise gave me that trust back. My legs no longer felt like something I had to manage carefully. They felt like something I could rely on. Another unexpected change was how I related to time. I stopped thinking in terms of years left and started thinking in terms of capability preserved. Aging became less about what I might lose and more about what I could protect. Stability, control, independence. Those aren't abstract ideas, they're physical experiences that start in the legs. I also noticed something subtle but powerful. When you move with confidence, people treat you differently. You carry yourself differently. You feel present instead of cautious. That shift doesn't come from pretending to be younger. It comes from being capable where it matters. This exercise didn't make me feel invincible. It made me feel prepared. And preparedness after 60 is everything. It means fewer accidents, fewer limitations, more choice. It means aging on your own terms instead of reacting to decline after it's already taken ground. Looking back, I wish I had started sooner. Not because it would have made me stronger faster, but because it would have saved me from months of unnecessary doubt. The truth is, decline accelerates when we assume it's unavoidable. Function improves when we challenge that assumption with the right signals. And that's why this story doesn't end here. Because knowing this changes how you move forward, what you prioritize, and what you refuse to give up. If you made it all the way here, that tells me something important. You care about staying steady, independent, and in control of your body as the years go by. And that alone already puts you ahead of most people. If this story connected with you, do one simple thing right now. Leave a comment and write the word stable. That lets me know you're serious about protecting your legs, your balance, and your independence after 60. I read those comments, and they help this community grow stronger together. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel because every video here is designed for people who want real functional strength, not trends or empty promises. Tap the like button as well if this video gave you a new way to look at aging and movement. It helps this message reach others who need it. And don't stop here. The next video already on your screen goes deeper into another simple habit that protects circulation and balance as you get older. Click it now and keep building a body you can trust.